Hello and welcome to another episode of the e-commerce coffee break podcast. In this episode, we're going to find out how negative reviews hurt your brand and what you can do about it. Joining me today is Shane Barker. He's the CEO and founder of TraceViews, the first Amazon TOS compliant negative review removal system. With over 20 years of marketing experience supporting Fortune 500 brands, Shane has been recognized as a leading influencer. His recent focus is helping Amazon sellers combat negative reviews through TraceViews' innovative white hat solution. And we want to dive into this right now. Hi, Shane. How are you today?
Doing awesome, man. I'm super excited about being on your podcast. I've been hearing it for a while and finally get to be a guest. So, dreams do come true.
Excellent. Let's start. And the first question is, many sellers live in a fear of negative reviews. You know that positive reviews, everyone wants to have them, and that's a good thing. But negative reviews can be a pain in the neck. Tell me about it. What's the influence there?
Yeah. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I think, a lot of people know that, negative reviews obviously hurt your product listings. That's kind of a given. But what I don't think sellers know is that there's an opportunity to get them removed, right? And I think that was the big thing when I started the company. We launched about 2 or 3 years ago. A lot of sellers were kind of giving me the side eye a little bit, right? Because usually reviews it can be a black hat tactic, or it could be something that, it's only done in China, or, you're in an alleyway where somebody gives you money and you run off and you take care of the reviews. I wanted to add some legitimacy to the review, being able to remove reviews. And so my goal is to start the company. And I have a long history in the digital space. So I've been in digital marketing for 25 years plus, and I used to teach at UCLA. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll start this company and I'll put my face on it. Because I think a lot of the times, a lot of the reputation management companies or review-based companies, they kind of, I'm not saying they hide, but, for me, I wanted to say, hey, listen, you can look me up. You can know that I'm not doing anything funny. When we first launched, we launched at Powwow in Florida. This was, like I said, 2 or 3 years ago now. And everybody just was like a little suspect of it, which I get. And so we had to work and get over that hurdle, which was a big hurdle. You want to be you're trying to get that first customer to give you the chance to do all the things that you've done for your other customers that you were working with behind the scenes. And then, man, things just really took off. I mean, I'm super proud to say as of today, we have 500 clients and we've removed over 13,000 reviews. So it is, I'm not going to say it was easy. I'm not going to say, you guys see I'm wearing a hat today. If I take this off, I'm virtually bald because of the experience, but that's okay. I'll go to Turkey or something and get a hair transplant or something one day. But, but for now, it's like, yeah, it's been a long journey, but it's been awesome.
Okay. Now, let's talk about negative reviews. Often there's the advice is you need to have some negative reviews. If you only have 5-star reviews, that looks fake. But there is actually more to the story than just having negative reviews from legitimate customers. How do negative reviews affect your clicks, your sales? Give me the bigger picture. What's the problem here?
Yeah, I mean, negative reviews really, the core of Amazon is the review system, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if they didn't have reviews there, we wouldn't, as consumers, just go and buy something, right? I mean, I've done it 1,000 times, or my wife's done it probably 10,000 times. Hopefully she doesn't hear this podcast. She's a big Amazon supporter, and it's very easy. You go and you look at it, and if they have good reviews and they have over 100 reviews and looks like a great product, and if they're a 4.3 and you see the 4.5 stars, great, you're going to click and buy it, right? We also know that Amazon has a great process for returning things. So it's very easy to do, if you need to return something, if it's not a good product. I think a lot of people don't realize all the things, and I mean, it doesn't just affect sales, right? I mean, it affects your BSR, it affects your star rating, it affects your PPC costs, it affects, social proof conversions. There's so many things that it affects. And I think sellers don't realize that, maybe they kind of get it. They go, yeah, I don't know why this is going on or why this is happening. The issue that we really run into is that, most of the stuff that we remove, the Amazon reviews that are in violation of their terms of service or their guidelines, those are the main things that we go after. But we also go after fraudulent reviews too. So that's the other thing that's hard, is like these reviews affect so many things. And unfortunately, there are some sellers out there that don't do business on the up and up, and they'll attack you and they'll give you bad 1-star reviews. And that can really crush you during a launch. That can crush you before Prime Day, before Christmas, before summertime, like whenever your big sales times is. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say from an ethical standpoint, because I don't think it's ethical at all, but from an ROI standpoint, when you have like supplements and stuff, people will go and buy, your creatine, buy 10 of them, give you a 1-star review. It crushes you. You reach out to Amazon. They either respond or they don't respond. The response time isn't always that great. And that becomes very frustrating. And so guess what happens? Your next time you're like, you know what? I'm not going to get screwed over before Prime Day, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do what somebody else did to me before they do it to me. And so it turns into this thing. I'm not saying in every category, and I'm not saying everybody does this, but there's only so many times that you can be punched in the face, feel like you're getting punched in the face before you start to go, you know what, I'm going to go take karate classes, or I'm going to be ready the next time I get punched in the face. So once again, I am not condoning to do anything that's against Amazon's guidelines or anything like that, but it just becomes sometimes an unfair playing field. And our goal is to level out that playing field, to help people remove those bad reviews, and even the ones that violate Amazon's guidelines, which can happen a lot, and a lot of people don't even know that's possible.
Mm-hmm. I want to dissect a little bit the terms of service of Amazon. You said there's different levels to reviews. There is the legitimate review. Somebody was just not happy with your product. And then you have a competitor who has some kind of a bad plan. Tell me how that turns out.
Yeah, no, great question. So at the end of the day, I mean, we didn't create this company to get rid of every single bad review, right? I mean, I think there is absolute value in having negative reviews. Some people might disagree with me, but there's valuable lessons to be learned, right? If somebody keeps saying there's an issue with whatever that is, something's making them feel a certain way, then you need to probably take a look at that. I mean, we all, most of the time, I would say 98% of the time, if you launch a product anywhere, it's not going to be perfect, right? We might think it's going to be, right? Our launch, we spent 2 years on this, and then either consumers are going to love it or hate it. What you have to look at is like, okay, what do you need to do to look at those negative reviews, take those in stride, understand that, try not to be too emotional, because you feel like they're attacking your baby, right? The thing that you've created. But how do you turn that into something positive, right? Like, I'll give you an example for a restaurant. If you're at a restaurant and all of a sudden you see 20 reviews that say, oh my God, the waitress is, or the hostess, Jennifer, was extremely rude. Well, guess what? Jennifer's probably rude, right? Like at the end of the day, right? Like if it happens that many times, what we look at when it comes to Amazon reviews is if somebody says there's a problem with the review, maybe somebody says, oh, it tastes like this. And we get a lot of reviews that say that. We'll actually take a look at that, and then we'll assess, is that a true review, or is that something that can cause other people not to buy it, right? So if somebody says, oh my God, this tastes like poison, right? And everybody goes, yeah, it does. And you have 10 people that say that. First of all, how many people have tasted poison, right? To know that this tastes like poison. Like, I would think that would be a one time and you wouldn't be able to tell anybody about it. But at the end of the day, what we look at that and say, okay, is that truly an issue with the product? Or is this somebody figuring out a way that nobody else is going to buy this, right? And then everybody else is jumping on that, and that is attack from a competitor, because nobody wants to say, to try something when they said, oh, this gave me diarrhea for 2 weeks, and 10 other people said that. Are you willing to roll the dice and say, you know what, I'm going to go buy that product and I'm going to take off 2 weeks and I'm going to see if it gives me diarrhea. Let's just see if that happens. Nobody says that. And so you look at that and you go, well, I'm not going to go with that creatine, right? Because this might happen. I'm going to go with the other one just to be safe. And so that happens a lot. Sometimes it's constructive criticism, and then sometimes it can be attack. So our goal is to take a look at that and say, hey, maybe you need to improve your product, right? Because you keep hearing these same things. Or this seems a little suspicious that 10 people got diarrhea for 2 weeks. That just seems a little out of the ordinary. We call it, my spider sense tingles a little bit. And then we're going to go in and assess that and see, we look at the buyer's account to see if there's anything on a fraudulent activity, or if they were only giving 1 stars to our clients and 5 star to other clients, or if they only give 1 stars and 5 stars, which could be an indicator. This isn't an absolute indicator, but it's some of the variables we look at, that maybe they're getting paid to write reviews because they're only doing 1s and 5 stars. Usually there's some gray area with products, right? I mean, if you try 20 products, there's going to be something you're like, I kind of liked it, but here you go, it's a 2 star. If it's only 1s and 5s, that's usually our first step into really doing a deep dive into the seller, or to the buyer, into the buyer.
Now, obviously, Amazon has a way on how you can report these incidents. You said that can be quite lengthy, can be complicated. Amazon is a beast. There's a lot of steps involved in there. And obviously, let's say about Black Friday, things are urgent. How do you approach this? And how do you approach this on scale?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So we had to test this before we went live with it for about a year, almost 2 years. So for us, it was, I honestly thought it was going to be easy to figure it out. And once again, 2 years of testing. So it wasn't as easy. I was telling everybody, 3 months, we'll have this figured out. I went in a little naive thinking that, hey, it's going to be easy. We file some cases. Amazon's going to respond. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be great. Well, Amazon, once again, as you said, is a beast, right? Amazon's a huge, huge company. I think they do the as good a job as they can, but once again, there's a million moving pieces to Amazon, right? There's so many different things that are happening, new initiatives, new people, turnover, people being hired. A lot of things happen there, and I think they do the best job that they can, but they're not cleaning up everything, right? I mean, the thing is the minute that Amazon cleans up one thing and stops a Facebook group that's once again incentivizing people to write reviews, there's 10 more that pop up, right? So it's not a and I use this in another podcast. I said cockroaches, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it is like, the minute you kill this cockroach, you have 10 more, right? It's this weird thing. And it's the same thing with this. It's like I grew up in the SEO space. So, the minute that somebody was trying to do some black hat stuff and everybody was using it, and I never used it, but let's say they did, then all of a sudden, the minute they stopped that, there was a new way of doing something to getting around the system if that is your thing. And so that's the hard part, right? I mean, when you get to a situation where people are trying to game the system all the time. For us, we don't want to game the system. You get bad reviews, guess what? That's the reality of launching a product. I tell sellers, like, listen, if you don't, you're going to get bad reviews. So if that's going to like cause you to go into a 3-day depression because you get a bad review, whether it's a competitor or not, it's just the reality of the situation, right? So what I always tell them is, hey, be more proactive, right? Like we have a monitoring system that's included in our service. Click that monitor button. Now, if anything bad comes in, it's against Amazon's guidelines or, something fraudulent, we're going to be filing cases on it, right? And then also get more, this is a Captain Obvious moment, get more 4s and 5 stars, right? Doing whatever you can to really build up that wall so that if you do get a bad review that comes in, it doesn't crush you. But the hard part is like, this happens to a lot of sellers, is that you have a launch. You go ahead, you put all your time, your money, you spend 3-4 months, and you get everybody excited, and the launch goes, and then boom, you get hit with a 1-star, and your launch is done. So that's the hard part. That was one of the reasons why we created the monitoring, is because people were getting attacked, and they said, hey, I just put all this money and time into this launch, and somebody gave me a 1-star review. I had a guy literally that I talked to today. He's like, we launched, hadn't even sold a product, and we already got a bad review. Well, how do you give a bad review if you didn't if you didn't buy the product? So that's becomes the problem, right? It is capable, you're capable of attacking somebody even before the product was being purchased. So what we look at is we go, okay, what can we do to try to even the playing field on that, right? What can we do to be able to come in and say, hey, let's file on this, assuming there's something against Amazon's guidelines. We don't file cases that are just to waste Amazon's time because, hey, this is a review that doesn't make sense. Now, if we can prove they didn't buy it, obviously that's we have a leg to stand on there, right? Because that can be something that's like, hey, how could they even have this? I haven't shipped one yet, right? Like, here goes the dates, here goes the log. I mean, right? That doesn't make sense that they were able to do that, or they say they were able to do that. So those are some of the things that we take a look at. I mean, our goal is to even the playing field, but once again, our goal is not to clean it up and so that you have 0 reviews or 0, critical reviews, 1, 2s, and 3 stars for things that are unethical or that maybe that are attacking your brand. Then great. Those are the things that we look at. And then obviously anything that violates Amazon's guidelines, that's pricing, cussing, mentioning a competitor, all the things that play into that.
Mm-hmm. I like that you highlighted that you can learn a lot from negative reviews just to get a better product, get your better marketing and all of this. And I think that's very important for our listeners to understand. A negative review is something as an entrepreneur, as a brand, that really can help you to get better. Obviously, the risky ones are the ones that hurt your business. Now, a lot of listeners out there might think about doing their review management on their own or have done this so far. Why is this risky for sellers? And how do you remove this quicker and better than them?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually encourage all sellers to try to do it on their own. I mean, I absolutely do. I mean, obviously, we have a service that is made it extremely easy. So now all they have to do is activate an ASIN, and then we grab those reviews, we throw them to our AI software, and then we just find out what's compliant or not. And then we actually file manually. So there's no automation on Amazon. We actually have, so it's so funny. So I'll tell you about this. So we have a new tool that we just came out with. It's an Amazon review checker. And so what that does is right now our service through TraceFuse is you give us your merchant token, you come in, you have all your ASINs, and then you get to pick the ASINs that you want to, activate, and then for us to go after them. Very, very easy to do. But what we've done is we created and I'll give you the link, we'll put it in the show notes. But what this is going to be, it's Amazon Review Checker. What that is they can put in their own ASIN for free. And what it'll do, it'll run it through, and usually the report will get back to them in about an hour or two, depending on how big the ASIN is and how many reviews. What we do is they can run their own report, and that actual report, what it'll say, we'll pull all the reviews, we'll pull the reviews that have the highest likelihood of being removed. we actually put why they're non-compliant. So we'll actually put why they're against Amazon's guidelines and which guidelines, and then actually can grab that report and file that with Amazon. So my goal is, I mean, a lot of people, if they were in my position, I don't know about a lot of people, but I'm saying other people probably wouldn't give that up because that's kind of our secret sauce a little bit. I mean, there's 100 different things that need to line up to file a good case with Amazon. So I think that's another part of our secret sauce is you can file cases, you can click the report button, but to do it the right way, you really have to mess up like 1,000 times or 10,000. Like that's what we did in the beginning. Like honestly, I wish those numbers were I was lying to you. Like there was so much things that were happening, and we are like, man, we're not going to be able to figure this thing out. I mean, it's a moving target, and when we did, I just, I just almost, I think I cried for a week. I was like, yay, I mean, it was like, because there was so much work that went into it. But our goal is, once again, that you can put in that ASIN, you get a report, you can file that with Amazon, you can click the report button and you can go ahead and file that. Our goal is to make it so that they can do it on their own, obviously, which really cuts into my business, but I don't mind that. I just want sellers to even the playing field, as I say, right? If they can't do that and you go in and you file your cases, and because the issue is there's so many places you can mess up where Amazon might not respond to you. So that becomes a little bit of an issue, it becomes a big issue because once again, it's like building a house on a foundation that isn't that steady, that's sturdy, right? So then you start building these things up and then guess what? The house ends up falling. In this situation, there's so many things that need to be done, but we provide a lot of that. We try to provide a lot of that data. And if they have, like SaaS core or something like that, they can provide that to the reps. There's a lot of different things they can do. But my goal is for them to take that report and be able to go do it on their own. And if they can't, I'll always be here. We'll be here to help them if they can't do it.
Yeah, I think someone should not underestimate the learning curve to do it the right way. I think a lot of listeners out there have dealt with, I don't know, Facebook ad support or payment service providers. Once you're in support, life will be difficult for a while. And then to get it through the right way, that can take a long time because, of course, we have not figured it out yet. Now, tell me a little bit, you gave a couple of examples and you have filed tens of thousands of reviews by now and worked with hundreds of brands. Tell me some success stories or case studies of businesses and what kind of difference they saw.
Yeah. And so we actually, if you go on our website at tracehughes.ai, we actually have underneath there, we have our testimonial section. And so what I did, because obviously the review management area, reputation management area of business is, some people can review it as, think of it as being shady. Once again, as I told you, I put my face on the company. I wanted people to know that, hey, what we do is nothing but legit business. And what we did here is we actually have video testimonials. We have about 13 of them of clients that have had amazing results. Some of them, dropped down to a 4.3 or dropped to a 4.2 from a 4.3, which crushed your sales anywhere from 10 to 50%. I have other people like James that does organic muscle. He was being attacked by competitors, which, the supplement space can be a very aggressive category. It's lots of money to be made there, and lots of people that are buying supplements, high lifetime value. But also because of that, there's a lot of people that are doing egregious things that really, from an ethical standpoint, shouldn't happen. But there's a lot of different things. I mean, some people just wanted to clean up their listings because they were going to be selling their brand, right? And somebody said, hey, your multiples could be higher if you got your 4.1 to a 4.3. So great. It's like going for a car loan when you have bad credit. And then guess what? They send them over to us. We prepare the credit for them, which really these are, fixing the listings and then going back and doing that. So there's so many different reasons why people would need us. Some people are, going into Prime Day. And so they're like, hey, we really want to clean these listings up. We're at a 3.9 and we need to get to a 4.0 to be able to do PPC. So great. There's so many different things. And some sellers realize, some of them just want to remove reviews, but other ones are a lot more strategic because they know that things are coming up, events are coming up or something like that. My goal and what I'm really trying to educate Amazon sellers on is being proactive instead of reactive, right? Like the analogy I always use is like, now cars have alarms, but this was a great analogy probably a few years ago. But what it is like, when somebody comes and breaks into your car and steals everything, and then you go put an alarm on your car, that's awesome. Right. But you just got all your stuff stolen. Right. Like, I'm not saying it's not the right time, but again, imagine if you would have had that alarm on your car before they broke in, and then they would have ignored your car and went to the car next to you. Well, assuming you don't have a laptop out and, thousands of cash and laid all over your car, then nobody cares about the alarm. They're going to break in anyways. I do the same thing with reviews. Is like, hey, with our monitoring service, why don't you guys come in and protect those ASINs? right? Because what happens is now when you activate those ASINs, they're being protected. And if it's, a month before Prime Day and you start getting these crazy reviews coming in, our system detects that and we're going to be filing cases, assuming there's something against Amazon's guidelines or fraudulent. So I was trying to think about how can we stop. It's one thing to have the past reviews. We can clean those up. We can, file cases all the way back to when the ASIN was created. But hey, once we clean them up, what are we going to stop this from happening in the future, right? Or at least know that you're protected there. And so people really love that. That was something that we've kind of learned through this, through having 500 clients. They said, well, what about the future? Like, how do we protect ourselves? And so we created a monitoring thing. And now what we're doing, nobody even knows this. I'm telling you for the first time, we're going to start tying in sales as well, and start maybe looking at saying, hey, if there's an issue with this, and hey, this one looks like this one is, this one's starting to slip a little bit, because usually you get one star and you got five 1 stars. Right. And we're looking at your competitor, they're getting a lot of 5 stars. We're going to be working on an algorithm that's going to be able to take a look at that and say, hey, you have about 2 weeks until this thing drops, and looks like you're going to lose about 30% of your sales. And it's like, wow, it's not just removing reviews. Now you're being proactive and going, wow, I need to protect this thing now because I don't want that to happen. So it's kind of the future.
No, I like the approach to be proactive on working on this. And you're already building a business on someone else's land. That's Amazon. And obviously you want to play by the rules and you want to make sure that your foundation is solid there. Now, who's your perfect customer?
Yeah, I mean, really for us, really any Amazon seller is a perfect customer, but really the ones that we see crazy success with, definitely in the supplement space, like probably out of all of our clients, our 10 biggest clients, probably 9 of them are in the supplement space. Just because of, once again, high profit margin, easy to ship. The lifetime value is very, very high. People, if I use the same creatine for, a year, then whatever that can be, a few $1,000s. Also in the beauty space, because once again, high profit margins, easy to ship. Same thing as pet, because people are crazy about the amount of money they will spend on a pet, and between toys and food and everything like that. Really, any Amazon seller is a good client for us. But really, those 3 categories are ones that we've seen. When we talk about a 10% success rate, we've seen up to 15, 20. One of our clients received almost a 30% success rate. So what I mean by that is, we say 30%, that means on the cases that we file, we see 30% of them, those reviews being removed. So we don't file, if you have 100 critical reviews, we don't file on all 100. We're not going to waste Amazon's time we only go after the ones that clearly are in violation of Amazon's guidelines, or that clearly we have a smoking gun. We're like, hey, this is fraud, and we need to file a case, obviously through, through the certain channels to be able to get that done. That would be like an escalation case in that situation.
No, it makes total sense. Talk to me about the onboarding process. Obviously, people should come as early as possible and with a plan for the future. But I reckon a lot of people come when things are on fire. What's a typical onboarding process?
Yeah, it is. It's like when the things are on fire, like, I need a fire extinguisher. I'm like, well, we talked a month ago. You wouldn't need the fire extinguisher if you would have signed up, but that's okay. I'm here to help everybody. We have fire extinguishers for everybody. Really, our onboarding process is super simple. They actually can just go to the website. Up on the top right-hand corner says Get Started. They can watch a demo video, and then they can go in and put in their merchant token, and then they can go ahead and sign up. Or what they can do is they can sign up for a demo, and I actually do all the demos because I really enjoy talking with sellers. I do a true assessment of what they've got going on. Out of 10 sellers, there's probably at least one of them that I'm like, hey, this might be a little too early for you, right? Like I had a guy today, didn't have a lot of reviews. We have the monitoring, which can be very valuable, but I also know that he put a lot of money in to start his brand, right? And I don't want the poor guy that finally makes $1. The minute you make $1, you have 10 people that all want a quarter, right? And that's what it feels like. You're like, man, I just got to get over this hump. And so I always tell people, hey, listen, like in that situation, brand new, we have an onboarding fee and the monitoring fee. It's a one-time fee that we charge. But I told him, I was like, listen, why don't you get some more working capital, get some more things going? You're probably not going to get 1,000 critical reviews in the next month. Sign up for us in another month or two. Like, we'll be around. I had a nice promotion that I was given to him. I'm going to give it to your audience too. 2 reviews removed for free. I know we talked about that. So, we'll put that in there. So if anybody reaches out and says that they heard about us through your podcast, obviously they're going to get those 2 reviews removed for free. But I really want to assess their situation. I've started multiple businesses, and I treat everybody like they're my mother. And what I mean by that is I really like my mother. So I don't mean that if I hated my mother, that would be, and I want to make sure everybody knows that. But no, it's like, if it was my mom's business, right? Like, and I don't want, Nobody wants a mechanic that screws them over. Nobody wants, somebody that tells you, oh, you have to get this. Your AC goes out and you need an AC unit. And then the next guy comes and says, no, you just need this $20 part. It's not, you don't need a new AC unit. So I look at it the same way. I want to do ethical business. I'll assess the situation. We'll take a look at their reviews and I'll tell them, hey, yeah, there's definitely something here. No, there isn't something here. Right. And so my goal is you have a lot happier clients when you set up proper expectation and when you review things ahead of time. Now, we do have the caveat of Amazon, right? I can't guarantee Amazon's going to remove a review. It could be blatantly against their guidelines. That doesn't mean they're going to remove it. I can't guarantee that we do certain things that Google is going to make you number one instantly, right? I mean, there's bigger powers out there. We do know how to make it so that they'll be a lot closer to accepting something like that, but there are no guarantees. So I let people know, hey, listen, at the end of the day, if I could get things done faster, get reviews removed faster, guess what? I get paid because we're a performance-based company. We only get paid when reviews get removed. So that is my goal. If I could cut that timeline down from 2 weeks to 1 week, I would absolutely do that. But there's also, we can only file so many cases. We want to make sure we're fully compliant with Amazon. Last week, I had 2 clients, big clients that were like, hey, can this go any faster? And I'm like, I wish it could. But we're only filing 5 to 7 cases. We're very conservative on the way that we do things with Amazon. We don't ever want to put an account at jeopardy. We never have and never would. But obviously we have to be, it's a slower process, but it's great. Once reviews start coming off, once again, you'll see on the testimonials that people really, really love the service. And it's a very unique service. And this is the only thing we do. We don't do SEO. We don't do, optimization for listings. We only focus on reviews, in the US platform, obviously, and then Canada and UK. We're eventually going to be branching out to some other platforms, but those 3 are the ones we're starting with for now.
Mm-hmm. I like that you're doing the onboarding calls because people get just so much more than just the details. You are a entrepreneur, somebody in the digital space for 25 years. And with that comes a lot of experience and know-how. And I think that's the most valuable thing that you as a founder or as a starter or even as a growing business can have on your side. Somebody who can support you with a lot of experience and pointing you in the right direction and also helping you with that. I really like that. So before our coffee break comes to an end today, Shane, is there anything that you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet?
No, man, this has been awesome. I was once again honored that we were able to get on the podcast today. We do have that special offer for everybody in your audience. And what we'll do is they can click on the links down below. There's the Amazon review checker link that obviously they can click on that. They can go run their ASINs. It's totally free. Once again, go try to do it on your own. I have no issues with that. If you're not able to figure it out and not able to get Amazon to respond, obviously we'll always be here. I'll give people my email address too if they ever want to reach out. It's just Shane, SHANE, at Tracefuse, that's TRACEFUSE.ai. You can reach out at any time, and we'll also include a link down below where you guys will get the 2 reviews removed for free that obviously you're offering to your audience for being a dedicated listener to your podcast.
Cool. I will put all the links in the show notes. Then you will be just one click away. I hope everyone who is selling on Amazon will reach out to you because that's not only time and money well invested. You don't want to get in trouble there. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.